Prepare to be captivated by the darkest corners of the human psyche. On Something Wicked, we delve into the chilling realities of real-life villains, unsolved murders, and the most sinister aspects of the human condition. Get ready to be awed as we uncover the truth and seek justice for the voiceless. Subscribe now to explore what lurks in the shadows. This is the tragic tale of Daniel Williams. Daniel Williams, an Alabama inmate, posted a haunting last message on Facebook via a contraband cell phone, in which he asked friends and family to pray for him. Instead of surviving the last few weeks of his sentence, he would meet incomprehensible cruelty.
How is everybody doing? I don't have much longer left. I'm coming home better than before, drug-free. It's been a crazy ride, 3 different prisons, and now it's almost over.
Sadly, the 22-year-old father of 2 passed away 2 weeks later in a hospital, according to officials. But there was more to the story. The Alabama Department of Corrections misleadingly reported his death as a possible inmate-on-inmate assault and obfuscating their gross negligence. The statement was, when he was found unresponsive, the decision was made to transfer him to an area hospital for further evaluation and treatment. He remained at the hospital until the family chose to remove him from life support, said Kelly Wyndham Betts, a representative of the DOC. However, the Williams family alleges that they were not informed of Daniel Williams's brain-dead condition at the hospital until October 25th. Warden Joseph Headley initially attributed it to a drug overdose, according to Williams' stepmother, Taylor Bostick, and his father, Terry. But contradicting the official statement, Daniel's family made a horrifying discovery. He had been kidnapped and raped by another inmates, enduring days of being tied up, beaten, and rented out. Williams was found drugged and unresponsive on the bed of an ultra-violent, prolific sexual predator we will refer to as Inmate X, who I discuss in greater depth later. How was this abuse allowed to continue for days without guards knowing about it? The severity of the abuse by Inmate X and others left Williams with only 10% brain function. His father explained that 10% that's left, all that does is Daniel could breathe and he could open and close his eyes. But he has no clue he's there. He has no clue you're there. He can't see anything. The family was informed that Williams could remain on life support but would be bedridden, requiring constant care for the rest of his life. The warden ordered that Williams be shackled to his hospital bed, even though he was in a vegetative state. Visitors underwent thorough searches for cameras to prevent unauthorized photographs of his extensively bruised body as the result of being beaten, restrained, drugged, and exploited. According to his father, Williams was sexually compromised for 6 days. He was in the final weeks of completing his 1-year sentence for theft and domestic assault. The abuse of Terry Williams's son occurred in an open dorm where everyone could see him. He asserts the guards and inmates knew but didn't intervene. Imagine the horror and prolonged agony of that young man helplessly drifting in out of a drugged haze and lucidity, knowing that people chose not to save him, possibly because they were taking turns. ABC 3340 News reporting dismantled the warden's misleading claims and sparked international outrage. Alabama Appleseed, a non-profit law and justice organization, reported that Williams was found in a dormitory to which he was not assigned, in the bed of the person suspected of killing him. The organization questions why mandatory headcounts failed to show that Williams was not in his designated dorm. Williams was briefly transferred to a hospital, where his father faced the agonizing decision to remove life support due to his minimal brain function, estimated at only about 10%. Afterwards, the warden, possibly concerned about negative press, promptly had Williams returned to prison, where he passed away alone. He was just 22 years old when he died in October 2023, on the same day he was to go free.
I'm sorry to say Daniel was moved out of the hospital last night and now is at Kilby Infirmary. He was supposed to have until next Wednesday in the hospital. I guess the warden wasn't happy about the attention he was getting, and I feel like the state didn't want to pay for the hospital anymore. Daniel Williams has been treated unfairly since he stepped into that prison. He deserves happiness for his last remaining time alive on this earth. He is just 22. What more can the system put him through before they let him rest?
Tragically, Daniel Williams passed away on the day he was scheduled for prison release, as his father reported. He was unable to afford a traditional burial and had to use GoFundMe to raise the modest $1,000 for his son's cremation. Who attacked Daniel Williams?
A community gathering to remember 22-year-old Daniel Williams.
It's really been hard for all of us.
His fiancée, the mother of his young daughter, questioned why Williams, serving a 1-year sentence on a theft charge, was living among violent criminals.
We want answers. That's all we want is answers and why they let it happen. Every time God, I'm ready to come home to my family.
But the young father would never make it home, the victim of a horrific murder, reportedly drugged, hogtied, and raped at Staten Prison in what the Department of Corrections called a possible inmate-on-inmate assault.
This was a preventable death. The 38-year-old suspect in this kidnapping, rape, and torture was involved in 9 instances of sex assault, rape, and stabbing since 2017.
Alabama Appleseed's Carla Crowder calling on a state committee to make unannounced visits to the prisons to have more oversight over a prison system plagued by violence. The inmate suspected of killing Williams was serving a 20-year sentence for sodomy, assault, and escape. State documents reviewed by ABC 3340 News showed he had a long history of disciplinary records dating back to 2015, when he nearly killed another inmate, stabbing him multiple times. Records also reveal multiple cases where the inmate was cited for being in possession of a weapon, 6 times over a 5-year period. State classification records also show a history of 6 sexual assault allegations and accusations of pressuring, harassing inmates for sex. Despite all those reports in multiple prisons, the inmate's classification showed a 5-year clear record of institutional violence, which gave him a score of 0 on his risk assessment in October of this year. That allowed him to move freely in an open bay dorm. 9 days after that report, Williams would be found unresponsive on the assigned bed of his alleged attacker.
It's hard to even begin to suggest remedies sufficient to correct this kind of unconscionable neglect and incompetence.
Daniel Williams' father, touched by the public interest and outrage over the death of his son, hoping it will lead to change.
Change ain't gonna happen unless we all stick together.
Cynthia Gould, ABC 3340 News.
You can look at him and tell that clearly this wasn't no overdose case.
Let's talk about this. Was he sexually assaulted?
Yes.
And the man that sexually assaults him, he's living in an open dorm. He's in prison for sexual assault and some violent things, right?
Right.
Not his first time, actually, sexually assaulting other men in prison, right?
Right.
Street. What goes through your mind? What's the first thing you're thinking?
Anger.
Yeah. I wanted to get in trouble to go in there and take care of business, really.
Talk about take care of business. It's a dangerous place, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bad it was until we started doing some research after this.
I've seen some videos that are pretty brutal of, dudes getting beat. I posted some of them. In a lot of instances, not on no racial shit, but, it's a lot of white dudes getting punched in the face, kicked, punched, not fighting back. I posted it. I posted another video where they did it to another, young black dude, where they were over there beating him up. I mean, it's just a crazy system that's totally out of control, right?
Absolutely.
So what is it? What do you find out? What happens to Daniel? What do you guys find out? What are the details that you guys know?
They, tied him up, shot him up, sexually assaulted him, beat him. And all this went on for a matter of 5-6 days,
Systemic failure and indifference led to an avoidable tragedy. In the 18-month period used by DOC to assess risk for disciplinary purposes, their own records showed the suspect had a proclivity for violence. He raped a prisoner at Fountain Correctional Facility in September 2022. The victim said he was assaulted by several inmates, taken to the middle of the dorm and gang-raped. That prisoner identified Inmate X as one of the attackers. Inmate X also called for a hit on a prisoner at Bullock Correctional Facility in October 2022. There are also allegations of threats associated with selling drugs. However, at 6 feet 4 inches, the imposing Inmate X was not disciplined for his volatility. Instead of writing up his attacks and sending him to disciplinary hearings or reclassifying his risk to protect other inmates, prison officials diminished the danger by documenting the incidents on enemies reports. Enemies reports are brief listings of disputes between inmates that separate inmates or have them moved. Even though the suspect was on Williams's enemies report, they weren't isolated. That sloppy negligence cost Daniel Williams his life. The investigation into Daniel Williams' harrowing death continues, and his family seeks justice through the civil lawsuit against the Alabama Department of Corrections. His heartbreaking situation has garnered international attention for the urgent need for prison reform and accountability that could save other lives. Despite Daniel's imperfections, the biggest injustice was dealt to him for being brutally robbed of the life he could have had when he was almost home free. I am confident he could have beaten his drug addiction with the help of the supportive family he was looking forward to reuniting with, including his young children, a sister who wrote she would have traded places with him, and a grandmother who loved him truly, even though he wasn't her best grandchild.
Y'all can come see us for Christmas.
Yeah, they need to stop being in Mobile all the dang time. And enjoy the world. Out of Mobile. Out of Robertsdale. Wherever they at.
Bring all the childrens and the boys to see us.
Not the boys. Bring James, AJ, and Katie. That's all you need.
And the boys. I ain't seen them in forever either. Hey, Leah.
Yeah, you see, yeah, well, do not bring the boys if y'all come. Or Mama don't bring the boys.
Why? I ain't seen them in over 2 years.
No, I ain't seen them in like over a couple months, and they annoying.
So, you are too. Yeah.
I'm the best grandchild you've ever had.
You're the oldest grandchild. You're not the best.
I gotta get off of here because there's some girls out here. I was talking to the other